So here we are on one example, Cisco Prime Infrastructure. We are here on what we call the main dashboard. Let me zoom in a little bit so you can see what's going on. There's a lot of things going on in this screen. One thing I like is this network device summary, where you can see all the devices that you have in your network and status about some items that may be going wrong. For any of these numbers that you see reported, you can click and get more detail. On the right side, you see devices that have most CPU utilization. When this exceeds a number that may be depending on your network infrastructure, you may want to have a look at this device and see what's going on. Going down a little bit, you can see each of your branches, if you have many of those, and then you can see the items that you have in your branch, access points, and every time there is a number that you can click, it's typically an item that needs your attention. In the same dashboard, what I like is the wireless dashboard, where you have a view of what wireless items you have in your network and some elements of importance. For example, the security index that analyzes your configuration on all your controllers and tells you if there are some items that you should be changing to increase your security in your overall wireless network. If you have a mesh network, there is a way to visualize your mesh network. Another one I like a lot is clean air. We'll spend some time on clean air later on. But that gives you the average air quality of your network. And whenever there are some interferes that are detected, you can see them on the right side. But if your network is clean, you should see this, non-detected. All the interferes have been removed. But you can see that in the past, we had some interferences that were detected a few days ago. And those were detected, the alarms was raised, and then we went to the location of these devices and remove them from the network. Notice also at the bottom of the page, you have the alarm pages. So for every item that is monitored by the Cisco Prime Infrastructure, you have the alarm summary that gives you the critical alarm, the major alarm, and the minor alarms. For each of them, you have categories, and you can click each category to see more details, or you can click a sub-column of each category to have more information about what critical alarms you see in your network. For example, here, I have a few critical alarms telling me that some of my controller links were down. That's, of course, a major problem. I need to check what's going on and fix that, because without a link, my controller cannot communicate with my access points. Another nice item is in monitoring access point radios. For each of your access points, you can see all their radios, where the access point is, which controller the access point connects to, the number of clients, if any, and again, for each of these items, you can click and get more details. Another very powerful feature of Cisco Prime Infrastructure is the map. For every site, you can add a map that can be made of a campus, then a building, and then floor plans. And for each of them, you can have a more detailed view, which allows you to see the floor heat maps in your buildings, including the access points and their status, and also the clients that you have on that floor. So let's have a look at that one, for example. So here I have a map, and let me zoom out so we have a more global view. Here I have a global view of my floor plan, and you can see that some access points are in yellow, and some access points have a heat map, and one of the access points doesn't. So this means that this access point probably doesn't have its radio on that band, which is by default the 2.4 band. Those have their radios on, and you can see the heat map with a scale that gives you the expected signal at each point of the map. Let's zoom in a little bit more so you can see what is up there. While the heat map is refreshing, let's look at this view here. You can decide what items you want to see on the map. And for example, on the access points, you can decide if you want to see the PG radio or the A radio, or both. Then you can decide what you want to display and where you want a signal to stop on the map, because beyond that, you know you're not in your cell anymore. This is for the access points, but depending on the options you choose, you can decide to draw obstacles, decide which part of the floor should be covered, and you can also have some options when you try to locate devices on the map. At the top of the map, you can also see some other options where you can add more access points, also add choke points to increase location accuracy, and also add GPS markers when you have vast campuses that you want to align to geographical coordinates. This is the page from where, in the previous demo, we went to planning mode to extend our coverage and add more access points. But PI is not only a monitoring tool, it's also a configuration tool. So if you go to Configuration and Network Devices, you have a view of all the devices in all the branches in your network. And you can group these devices by categories. You can also group them by locations if you want to. And for each of those, you can go back to Configuration and decide to deploy templates that will allow you to configure an item specific to a type of device and deploy that item, that same configuration, to one or many devices in your network. From Cisco Prime Infrastructure, you can also use services that include mobility services, which helps for location, and also wireless IPS. Again, in Cisco Prime Infrastructure, there are a lot of options, and knowing all the details is way beyond the CCNA wireless level. But for the exam, you should be aware of the existence of PI and its ability to manage the entire network from one single pane of glass. You should also be aware of the maps and their powerful view of the network and the coverage of each of your access points.